Chamblee, Georgia is a quiet community on the outskirts of Atlanta. Once on its own, it's now grown into part of the metropolis. The Southern Railway, now NS, still runs through here on its way from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. But million-dollar homes, tech companies, and yoga studios don't need heavy rail service, though there is still a yard here to serve Chamblee's shrinking customer base. The NS main line runs just feet away from Peachtree Road, not to be confused with Peachtree Street or Peachtree Boulevard or New Peachtree Road, which are all nearby. The signal is named Chamblee, and I know we're in CTC territory, so that high green on track 2 tells me something is coming south. Chamblee is a great train watching spot, but I couldn't fly the drone here as we're about 3,000 feet from the end of the runway and squarely in Class D airspace, DeKalb Peachtree Airport. Yes, Peachtree again. I was all set to go chase this switcher leaving the yard when, whoosh, here came that southbound. I didn't get his ID, but it was a southbound unit train of jumbo-covered hoppers. From the look of the springs, I guessed they were all empty. No idea where this guy was going. The NS has eliminated nearly all at-grade crossings on this line as it nears Atlanta, so we're not going to hear any horns today. I moved northward about a quarter of a mile to a parking lot that's open to the tracks, a scene not easy to find in Atlanta anymore. Now I was on the northern end of the Chamblee station, now the yard office. A bonus here is the parallel MARTA commuter line. Trains run about every half hour, right above us. The next slot on the main belonged to Amtrak 19, the southbound crescent. And just about the time the head end got to me, cover up. The switcher made its move. And it was a 4-engine switcher. Oh well, still pretty cool. Only a few minutes had passed when a northbound freight came up the hill and slowed to a stop at the Chamblee yard office. I don't think this was a crew change. I think the dispatcher was holding him here, and the conductor took advantage to use the land-based facilities. I guess the engineer had to sit at the controls to keep some throttle at the ready. This whole train was strung out behind him on a downhill grade. About 10 minutes passed and the big freight got going again, slowly creeping northward. Those big GEs giving it all they had to get that train rolling uphill. Suddenly, on the number 2 track, another northbound. This time an intermodal, with one of the NS Heritage units in the lead, behind that other train. And again, a cover-up. I always love seeing unusual loads, like these bundles of big timbers on these center beam flats. I'd love to know what those are being used for. As the freight train passed, it glided to a stop in the yard. I was rolling on this but wasn't paying attention to the scene. There were 3 of them hiding behind that pile of cross ties. 2 of them stepped across the main, and the first climbed onto that bottom tank car. Now waving the others to join him, but he apparently did not see that conductor on the other side of the train. When he did, he climbed back down and fell into the ballast. It looked like he banged his elbow when he went down. I don't know if they ever had words with the conductor or not. They appeared to just walk back to their hiding spot. It's a pretty poor hobo that picks a tank car to hop anyway. Getting spooked by the conductor probably saved all their lives. Now, if you want to see some serious train hopping, check out this guy's YouTube channel, Ran Out on a Rail. You will see some stunning video and views of your own home railroads that you probably never knew existed. This spot is an open access point on the otherwise fenced-off Southern Main Line. There's an old caboose here with an ice cream decoration on top, an ice cream stand called the Frosty Caboose. It's a great place for young train watchers, or old ones like me. Afterward, the Chamblee switcher, P51, departed southbound toward Inman Yard. Just then, I heard some radio traffic about something over in Lawrenceville. I didn't know exactly where Lawrenceville was, but I put it in my Waze app and she took me around the perimeter to get there. "40 minutes later, I'm in downtown Lawrenceville, Georgia. There had been a grade crossing accident that had everything stopped. We were on the Abbeville subdivision, the ex-Seaboard Main, running from Hamlet, North Carolina into Atlanta. The old SAL depot is still here, but of course it's something else now that's not railroad or even transportation related. Down the hill, there's a grain train stopped on the main waiting for the accident to clear. By the time I got around to the crash scene, that had all been cleared except for the signal maintainer checking the crossing signals, which were working fine. What had apparently happened was a massive traffic at a nearby church food pantry had overwhelmed the little 2-lane road, and in the backup, some poor soul left himself and his car hanging out across the tracks. When the train came around the bend, the engineer put it into emergency, but he still clipped the car. No injuries. Another half hour of work by the signalman, and finally here came G302, the grain train. After stopping to flag the crossing with red fusees, the conductor climbs aboard and they creep over the crossing. G302 appears to be loaded, judging from those compressed springs on the trucks. He continues creeping along at restricted speed until he's completely over the spot where the last train went into emergency here. This speed restriction will stay in force until a track inspector can get here to confirm that this section of track is safe for timetable speed. The next morning I made one more run back up to Chamblee because I had to check this out. A track spur that crossed Peachtree Road and stopped. Now clearly they don't need rail service at Whole Foods, but why leave that track in across the road and then cut it? Had to be for switching needs. Maybe storage, maybe switching delivery a few hundred yards down the line, I don't know. While I was pondering this mystery, the radio lit up.
Amtrak 19 got a clear signal on track 1 at Armour. Let's go to 54.
Amtrak 19, Washington to New Orleans, rolling down toward its Atlanta stop. I'll be back in Atlanta and North Georgia this winter because I've only scratched the surface of the rail action up here. Please hit the like button if you like this one and send me your comments below. I love to get them and I read all of them. Until next time, somewhere out there on the high iron, this is Danny Harmon, out.